What is going on, Rick and Morty fans, and welcome to another video with your host, as always, K-Mac Time. Now, as we all know, Rick and Morty is absolutely filled with insanely witty pop culture references, funny hidden Easter eggs, and jokes that are over most people's heads. And that is what fans like us love about the show so much. So today I thought it'd be cool to pick some of my personal favorites and share this kind of breakdown for you and jump right into it, guys. Now, I also have a full season 3 breakdown that goes through every reference and every Easter egg in every episode of season 3 of Rick and Morty. So if you guys can't get enough of this Rick and Morty goodness, feel free to check out the rest of these. There will be a link in the end slate and the description. But with that out of the way, guys, like I said, let's jump right in.
And I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole, Morty.
In my butt?
Put them way up inside there, as far as they can fit.
Oh, jeez, Rick.
One of my favorite characters in the show has to be Mr. Meeseeks. I mean, he's such an original and hilarious, wacky, out there character. I mean, you just have to love him, and it's something that I've never seen before in any other kind of show. But anyways, did you guys also notice there's a handful of other episodes you can see Mr. Meeseeks on screen? In the episode Morty's Mind Blowers from season 3, when Rick and Morty end up stuck in an alien menagerie and have to switch places with the scientists to escape, if you look closely, we can actually see a pair of Meeseeks who have also found their way into the menagerie and have been captured by the alien. But my favorite Mr. Meeseeks cameo is when Rick and Morty are playing Roy at Blitz and Chits in season 2. In the background, we can see an alien playing pinball and Mr. Meeseeks is giving him pointers. Later, we see the alien get a high score and then Mr. Meeseeks disappears. It's things like this, these little hilarious background scenes that fans of the show absolutely adore, and it adds another just hilarious layer for super fans like myself to kind of piece these things together. Loved this one.
If Crumbopulous Michael wants someone dead, there's not a lot anyone can do to stop him. That's why he does it for a living. Now excuse me, it's time to thrash your Roy score.
Next up is a sort of super obscure throwback the creators snuck into season 3. In the episode The Rick Lantis Mix-Up, we are treated to the amazing plotline of Cop Morty and Cop Rick, who go on a crazy and entertaining day in the lifestyle adventure. It's pretty obvious that the whole episode is loosely based off of the movie Training Day, but what's not obvious is the casual Rick and Morty fans may have missed the reference that Justin Roiland put in this episode. It comes when the Mortytown locals are putting together the bootleg portal juice, and one of them asks their meth head Rick if he's, quote, gonna lick their balls when there's Morty is a president.
Hey, Rick, man, when there's a Morty president, you gonna lick my balls or what?
This line is actually a major callback to the earliest days of Rick and Morty history, back when the show's creators was just toying with the idea of a crazy scientist and his grandson in these sci-fi adventures. Justin Roiland made a short called Doc and Marty, and in it, Marty has to lick Rick's balls to save his life.
It's the only way to fix our time travel car. You have to lick my balls, Marty. The saliva needs to be warm and fresh.
Next is a very simple but still super cool Easter egg that slipped right by most viewers, and it's the house we see in the episode of 1 of season 3. It is a house we see Rick's flashback where he's going to try to invent the portal gun in his mind. Anything look familiar about it? Well, if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, it should look familiar, as it's the exact house another mad scientist resides in. That's right, it's a carbon copy of Heisenberg's home from Breaking Bad. Now, this whole sequence turned out to be made up inside of Rick's mind, so whether or not the house actually ever existed, or if Rick's just a big fan of Breaking Bad, we don't know, but either way, this one's still pretty damn funny. Another pretty interesting and funny callback to previous seasons happens in the end of season 3's episode, Morty's Mind Blowers. Near the end of the episode, we see a box full of Jerry's Mind Blowers, and in it we can see VHS tapes labeled Apple Campaign and Sleepy Gary. Now, both are clever references to some of the funnier moments in Jerry's ever had in previous season, and I particularly love that they had to erase Sleepy Gary from Jerry's memory. If you recall, this is a pretty funny reference to the episode from season 2 called Total Recall, and it appears as if Jerry couldn't get over his love for Sleepy Gary, so Rick completely erased it instead, and that is pretty damn funny.
Maybe we'll see Chewbacca. I'd like that. What are we doing?
One of my favorite little throwaway jokes from season 3 was when Beth mentioned Summer going on a rant about flesh-colored crayons.
Oh, God, are you gonna go on another spiel like you did with the flesh-colored crayon? I'm pretty sure normalize will make her normal.
After that episode, I took to the internet to look up why flesh-colored crayons was worth mentioning in that episode, and it was pretty damn funny. It turns out that Crayola actually changed the name of the crayon from Flesh to Peach back in the 80s after there was a pretty big controversy surrounding the name of the crayon because obviously not every race or ethnicity's skin tone is the same. It was just another one-line quick throwaway joke, but I really enjoyed it, and it's lines like these that really make the show so damn good for me. Next up is another quick background Easter egg that could easily go unnoticed, but once you notice it and figure out what it means, it adds another layer of funny to the entire episode, and it's just so perfectly done. So in episode 3 of season 3, Pickle Rick, the family goes to see a counselor. As they are entering, they run into Morty's math teacher, Mr. Goldenfold, and he asks them about eating poop.
We have never eaten poop.
Me neither.
As he is saying that, we can see on the door behind him that the therapist is also a specialist in coprophagia. Now, coprophagia is a real-life disease where you have the odd desire to eat poop. Another super funny little hidden and obscure joke thrown in by the writers that adds so much depth to a scene, and it also made a reference to the time between season 2 and season 3 where Mr. Goldenfold was forced to live underground in the sewers because of the Federation had taken control of the planet. So again, so many extra layers to this one, and I absolutely love this little tidbit here. Does a whole lot.
No longer will the insects have domain over surface world.
Going back to episode 7 of season 3, the Ricklantis mix-up, there was one of my favorite scenes in the whole season, which was the strip club scene where Cop Rick and Cop Morty meet up with the drug lord in the strip club, and it was pure gold. And not only did we get an action-packed and fun scene, but it was jam-packed with little tiny Easter eggs that I thought were hilarious, like the Back to the Future Morty or the No Outline Morty. And my personal favorite Morty would have made it in the ones that looked like the creators of the show, Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon. They look pretty similar to them, and I absolutely love when they add little things like this in animation and little pop culture references in, and I love how they can kind of do it with all these different Mortys. I love this episode, and I love this scene, and I love these Mortys as well. Another pretty obscure and weird throwback reference that went over many people's heads was in season 3, episode 10. Rick calls the alien that is following them in the basement of the White House a Googa.
Some kind of alien Googa.
Now, this is actually a reference to a skit that Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon made way back in the day, and it was called Googas. They love to toss in these throwbacks to early creative days before they were even really famous. They're making these kind of skits, and they were on like the internet before they had a TV show, before anything like that, and I absolutely love it. And if you actually go back and watch their skits and watch their early animation, it's actually really, really funny as well. Again, adding another layer of extra content that super fans like me will pick up, and this is what I love doing about the show, is really dissecting it. I really love doing this, and that's one that I thought was perfect.
What the hell are these crazy Googas?
Next up is probably the best known but most important Easter egg to date for the show, and that is of course the glowing green rocks we see at the end of this episode. Now if you're not aware of this, let me quickly break it down. In the episode where Rick and Morty kill the talking fart cloud, we can see Rick picking up these glowing green rocks at the end of the episode and putting them in his car. Then, at the beginning of the Parasite-based episode called Total Recall, which was actually the next episode, we see Rick tossing these same rocks into the trash. We can also see these rocks have some pink crystals on them, which is where the parasites come from. This is such a missable little detail if you may not have been paying a close-up attention, so it's only in the very beginning for like a split second. It's such a funny and missable detail, and it sets up the next episode so perfectly. And this is a truly masterful way to write these episodes back to back and introduce how these parasites got into the family's home. Loved this one. And of course, my personal favorite and final one for today is the Easter eggs that and references that are constant nods to Gravity Falls. Now, if you guys don't already know, the show's creator, Justin Roiland, is very close friends with the creator of the Disney show Gravity Falls, Alex Hirsch, and there have been loads of references tossed in. We see Bill Cipher a few times in the background. We see a Dipper version of Morty in the Citadel of Ricks. There's countless other ones. We even see Uncle Stan, the items he threw into a portal in an episode of Gravity Falls, come out of a different portal in an episode of Rick and Morty in season 1. That's of course a really big one. But the Easter egg that is the little lesser known is this background character's shirt. He can be found in a handful of Rick and Morty episodes, and the story behind this is he's supposed to have this football with Roman numerals on it. and no one really understood what it meant. But when asked about the character, Justin Roiland said that it was originally a plan for both Gravity Falls and Rick and Morty to feature a similar style character who has this shirt with these Roman numerals on it. They were going to tie it together somehow and make it mean something, but sadly it never made its way into Gravity Falls before the show was ended. So now the character is just kind of there, and he may do something with it in the future, so it's definitely a character to keep your eye on if you see him in the future, maybe pointing towards a future major Easter egg. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you guys did, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. If this video gets to 150 likes, I'll drop out another video next week going over some more awesome Rick and Morty Easter eggs, possibly from season 1 and 2 this time. But if you guys can't wait till then, make sure to check out my entire breakdown of season 3. Like I said, it's in the links in the description down below. Also, let me know in the comments what your favorite Rick and Morty Easter egg ever is. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. But until next time, guys, remember that it's always K-Mac time somewhere. Until then, take it easy, guys, and peace out.